Welcome to this video in which I'm going to be showing you how I put together this CAD model, which basically is an assembly of three parts or three components. I've got the battery case, an LED candle, and a box. The battery and the LED candle have been brought in from existing components that I've shared with my students, and the box is what the students are going to be designing around the battery pack, battery case, and the LED candle. Okay, so let's get going. This is my project that I've been working on. I'm going to come back to my home here, and the first thing to point out here is that you will need to create a new project, and in my case, I've called this demo LED candle. So this is the new project I've created for this video, and now what I need to do is bring in the components for the battery box and the LED candles. Let's do that now. I've downloaded those files already from the design folder the students are working with. And what I'm going to do here is go to File and Upload, or I can go to the Upload button over here on the side panel as well. I'm going to drag my files into this location. So my files are already on my extended desktop. So I'm going to bring in the battery case, drop that in there. You can see there's my battery case. I'm going to bring in the LED candle. There's my LED candle, and they're both going to be put into the demo LED candle location, which is what I want to do. Let's just upload those now, and then there they are coming. Okay, give it a few seconds, they're going to appear. Absolutely fantastic. So let's now start a new design. So in here, I'm going to come to the little plus button to create a new design. You might not have to do that, of course. You might just be ready to go. And the first thing I want to do here is save this. Now, when I save this, I want to make sure that I'm in my appropriate project location. I'm going to go to save, and I'm going to call this demo box. Okay, so let's go ahead and make that in the demo LED candle project location. Of course, you've got to work with your own namings for all of these projects. And now I have my demo box file ready to work on. Okay, first thing I need to do is I need to insert. In fact, let's just come back to here for a second. Let's see what's going on. Look, here we are. Let's go back to the start of this history timeline. First thing I do is I insert the battery box, and then I insert the LED candle. So let's come back to this demonstration here. I'm going to right click on the battery box, and I'm going to go insert into current design. And I just want to highlight here that when I do this in these dialog boxes, it says ground to parent. So what's happening here is this is my parent design here. You'll notice now it's changed from one solid block into like two cubes. And then here's my battery case coming in as a child from this parent. So I'm going to ground it to that parent origin, which means that the top of this box there in the center is going to be grounded to the origin of the overall project. Okay, let's just confirm that. Now you can see that I need to add in, my LED now, LED candle. So let's right click on this. Let's insert into the current design. Okay, and there it is. This one is not grounded to the parent, which means I'm going to be moving this. And I'm just going to move it up 20 millimeters there. Now I'm going to move it up a fixed value like 20 because then it's an intentional integer, and then there's a reference that I can use later on. Let's click on OK there, and now I have got my battery case and I've got my LED candle. Now notice at this point in time that I'm still working on the main, or should I say the main assembly is the active component, and that these two new components are actually chained or linked to the original images. So if I wanted to change these, I would have to open the battery case up as a separate CAD file, make the modifications, and then relink it into this main assembly. Okay, well now we're going to actually make the box that we want. So I'm going to go to the assembly menu. I'm going to go to new component. I'm going to call this box. And notice here that this is linked to the demo box V1. That is the parent assembly here. So you want to make sure that is the case. If I deselect that and click on select here, I need to make sure that I am linking it to this parent assembly. And it's going to be my active component, which means now once I've clicked on OK, there's a little dot here in this radio button indicating that I'm now modifying my box, and the candle and the battery box you can see have gone gray. If I go to the radio button button for the main assembly, you can see that now it shows everything in the main assembly, everything becomes solid. But if I come and work on my component, then the candle and the box turn into this kind of gray shaded out style. So now I'm working on my box, and let's see what I do next. I'm going to come back to my demonstration here. There's my new component being made, so I'll call mine box. Let's move forwards. I'm going to do a sketch here. Now let's have a see where that sketch is. That sketch is going to be, come on, thank you very much. That sketch is going to be placed on the origin of the drawing here. So I've not selected the top of the box here. I've selected the origin of my sketch work plane, which is this view here. So I could have turned my battery and my box, my battery and my candle off there and selected that work plane. And I've just created a rectangle here, center rectangle, based, so remember, create, sorry, sketch. Oh, it's in the sketch menu, excuse me. Whoops, I'm doing daft things here. You need to make sure you do a center rectangle, not just a rectangle from the corner. From the origin, the dimensions for this, obviously, you're working out in advance before you come into Fusion. Then I'm doing an extrusion, and obviously I need to get the height of that extrusion correct. So again, I'm working this out before I come into Fusion. And in terms of the fact that this is a rendered finish, if I right-click on the body here and go to Appearance, I can choose from the Fusion appearances the type of finish that I want to have. I'm not going to worry about that in this video. Next, I am doing a shell effect, and I'm going to shell from above and down. I've got a 3mm wall thickness there because, of course, I'm working with 3mm materials, 3mm thick materials. Then I'm adding in a sketch in the base of this box. And the key thing to highlight here is that this sketch is just the right size for that battery box to fit in. And I've got 1mm diameter holes located where the screw holes of the battery box will align. Now I'm going to move forward and do that cutout. And if I just look at this from above, orthographic view, I can see that I've designed this so that the battery box fits in with a little bit of tolerance there, maybe 1mm on each side. But when I look from below, I can see that the battery box external face is going to basically go over the edges of that cutout. So hopefully, again, you've got all that worked out before coming into Fusion. Then I've done this join command. Okay, so this is a joint. And basically with this joint command, I've made sure, if I just cancel that for a second, this joint command is going to be in assembly and joint. I've made sure that I am joining this circular profile of the pilot hole with the corresponding circular hole of the screw in the battery box. So that's how I've joined those together. Okay, that's the joint command applied. Then I do a new sketch. Now this new sketch is going to be for the top of the box, and notice I've made my top of the box so it actually extends out slightly wide of my finger joint box. Now I'll just mention at this point, of course, this is a finger joint box that we're going to make in MakerCase and then put into TechSoft Design to Laser Cut. I'm not worrying about any finger joints here. I'm just focusing on getting the dimensions, the proportions of the box right, so it fits my battery box. The LED candle will go into it. There's space for the wiring, and I've got my cutouts here from my decorative graphics to slot into the top. So just looking at those cutouts, I've made sure that I've got a cutout for my LED candle, which is the correct size for that to fit in. That should be that's in your research. And I've also spaced out here precisely measured cutouts for my finger joints, and I've used nice sensible dimensions there. I'm not going to tell what those dimensions are. That's for you to plan yourself. Then I've gone ahead and done the extrusion. And just to point out here as well that when I make this box, I'm not going to have, my intention here is not to have any finger joints coming into the lid here. I want this lid to be nice and clean. So just to be clear here, finger joints to make all the rest of the box, but here I'm going to have basically glue on the top face here, and then I'm going to just glue straight onto that this top box for a nice clean finish. Then I've done a move command. So if I just edit this feature, you can see I've got the move options up here at the top. I'm not going to bother about moving that, but I've just moved my LED candle down into that little cutout there. Then I've got a new sketch. This sketch is going to be for the feet. And in my case, I've made sure that there's going to be a little overhang here. So I'm going to block off the view of the battery box, little legs on the side. Then I extrude that at the front. I extrude that at the back, two separate extrusions, and that is my box finished. I could also, of course, add legs on the side, but in my case, I didn't worry about that.